Hey, this is Mike from OnPoint. This is another one in our series in our growth and transformation series for users around Spectrum. And what we're really attacking here head on is the craziness, the absolute disruption in offices where you don't have a smooth connection between HCSS products and Spectrum. In other words, you might be doing work in heavy bid and eventually heavy job. And then a lot of times we see folks having to re-enter and redo those things in Spectrum. And so what this is all about is managing some of that chaos. In this case specifically, we're going to show how easy it is to generate an export file and bring it into Spectrum. And then to manage the same thing the same way with changes. We see too many clients that are spending way too much time there, and at a point it limits growth and scalability. All right, so objectives here today, we're going to send a job from heavy bid to Spectrum, and we're also going to send a change request from heavy bid to Spectrum. So enough talking, let's get into the software. I want to quickly introduce Josh Hollinger with Strategic Solutions. Josh is a HCSS expert, a consultant, and he's been kind enough to help us today to show you the parts of this where you're generating out of heavy bid. So Josh, I'm gonna stop showing my screen here and hand off to you.
I just want to make sure we can see heavy bid on my screen. Is that the screen I've shared?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to jump right in, and we're really going to be focusing on the heavy bid aspect of this, the exporting part. So as we know, estimators, they love to get into the details, right? And so as we see here, I have a sample estimate open with several different bid items, and attached to each of those bid items are activities. From a simplistic point of view, the bid item holds our revenue, and within heavy bid, the activity holds your cost. So what we're kind of looking at here is how do we manage this information? How do we look at this information? And then how do we transfer that information over, hand off that information over to the finance team and really operations as well. So to do this, we have a terminology called conforming the estimate. Some people might call that optimizing, some call it setting up. But really, in all, it's taking this estimate and saying our estimators, they look at this, they look at things with a lot of detail. It's not just remove and replace sidewalk. It's we got to demo, we got to fine grade it, we got to form it, we got to pour it, we got to take the forms off. So estimators are breaking it all down. And as a operations and finance team, we have to decide at what level do we want to see this information come back, and how do we want to track that? How do we want to forecast it? How do we want to review it? So how and what is it that ties all of this together? And that really is codes, right? We call them activity codes in heavy bid, and in Spectrum, we call them phase codes. So to get this information from heavy bid to Spectrum, right, we have to understand and know how we want to do our codes. So there are a lot of ways to do this within heavy bid. In fact, right off the top of my head, I can think of 4 common ways of structuring codes. The most common 3 are, first, we just use a code when we build our activities that already is going to match how we want to see it in Spectrum. That is probably the most detailed way. But a lot of the time, what happens is the way we look at it, estimating, is not the same way we want to track it from a finance and operations perspective. So then we have to decide, how are we going to then recode things and how can we recode it efficiently so that we can just with a few clicks get this information off. That's where the use of heavy bid code books really come in handy. That allows us to kind of preset these codes and populate things in a way that requires little manipulation from an estimator or a project manager who might be conforming this estimate to get it over. One of the ways I've done that in this estimate is in my code book, I've preset this alt cost code that we see here. And that alt cost code is tied to several, to each activity that I've pulled in. Right, so this alt cost code already is formatted and ready to go into our finance and operation software, like Heavy Job. If we're using Heavy Job, we can transfer that information right over. And now Heavy Job and finance are using the same codes and matching, and makes for a way more seamless operation downstream. One of the benefits of also doing it this way is you'll notice that even though I have two activities, the alt cost code is the same. What is the reason and how does that benefit it? Well, estimators are looking at this clearing sub remobilization and clearing and grub dispose of debris. They broke it out into two individual processes or steps. That way they could, in their way, adequately account for the costs. So to prevent from having to change the way estimators do their work, we use this alt code and give each of these two activities the same code number. When we export to Spectrum, that is going to allow this budget to roll together and become one single code. Huge benefits to that, especially if operationally it's not effective to track 300 codes on a job. Maybe we can limit that down to what really makes a lot more sense. And again, the beauty of this is that we can pre-program the system to automatically have these codes in place. So once we have these codes in place and we're working with that, I can go to my exchange, Heavy Job and accounting. And this is really a powerful tool for those. There may still be some people who use the Heavy Job and Accounting Classic version. I fully encourage everyone to move to the new updated version, which is just Heavy Job and Accounting. It's a lot more powerful and very customizable to individual companies' needs and situations. And it also makes a lot of sense. It's actually got a workflow built into it and something we can just follow to get this information out. So I've already gone through my estimate details and built my codes out that have come from my code book. And so now I come and I just work from the very top here, and I just follow this process right down to the end. So assigning cost codes is the first thing I do. So I can see these are all of the codes that are on this estimate. And the goal now is to say, okay, this code in this estimate is going to translate to what code for Spectrum? So because I'm using a custom code structure, I can come down here and I could just say, I just want to copy my alternate cost code to my phase code. And I can hit apply option. And it takes that code that I've already preset and it aligned and it fills it in here. And this is the code now that will go into our accounting software. Now I can also do a few other more, I can customize this a little bit more if I want. I can go to advanced copy options here. Excuse me, let me clear the code out first. Clear everything. I can go to my advanced copy options and I can say, all right, I have my alternate cost code here. What if I want to put the bid item number in front of it? I could do that. I can also put digits after it. I can do all sorts of append it with additional zeros as needed to make sure the string length is exactly the same. In this case, I want to put the bid item number in front of the alternate cost code when I send it to heavy job, but I really only want the alternate cost code when I create the phase for Spectrum. So as I do this, I can hit apply, and it will build out my code structure here exactly as I told it to program it here in the advanced copy options. So once this is complete and finished, and I'm happy with the codes I see here, I can continue to move down from top to bottom. So extracting resources. This is another powerful tool that probably may or may not get used as often as it should. But on a lot of projects, there's times where we might have 57 stone in 10 different activity codes within heavy bid, and it's really not productive or maybe even manageable to track that stone at individual code levels across multiple items within our operation software like heavy job, or even in accounting to create POs or do those things. So what we do with that is we extract resources from all instances that it's found within our estimate. We give it a revenue code, a phase code, and even a heavy job code. And so it takes it from those 10 items and it combines it into one new item so that we can track that individual resource. A very simple option to come in here. We can find our resources. We could just look at bulk materials. We can look at just permanent materials. However, we've got our estimate set up and our tracking. We can look for those items. We can select those items that we would like to bring in. And then we can assign them a revenue, phase, and heavy job code. Now on these ones that I've previously brought in, we can also set this up to where when it comes in your material code book, again, if you're using your code books, we can pre-assign a revenue, phase, and heavy job code to each and every one of those individual items. And what that does is it allows this process, extraction process, to be very efficient and quick for whoever's conforming the estimate. They just pick the codes, apply options from their resource code book, and it will automatically put those codes in, and we can then move right on to the next step. The other option is to manually come in and say, I would like all of these materials to show in the same code, and I can type them in one at a time. So a lot of optimization that can be done, again, by using code books, or a lot of manual entry, but still a very powerful feature to extract those add-ons. And we have the same kind of feature here with extract add-ons, bonds, and other costs. I can move my add-ons into the finance system if I would like to, profit, loss, any other kind of contingencies, those kind of items. We also could put our bond to a phase code. We can put fuel or any other EOE costs. We can pull those out and separate it and bring it back in, which makes it much more efficient and easier to budget within Spectrum. In addition to doing that, all of these items here, if we go into our master estimate, we can preset these so that when we go to any future estimates, it's already coded and ready to export. Again, we move down the list. We assign our revenue codes. If there's a different code than the bid item, we can select this, and we can select any other, lots of options to create customized codes. In this case, I'm just going to take the bid item and apply it to the revenue. And then I have the opportunity to see what is the final thing that I'm going to be sending to accounting. And these codes right here is the final list. And I can see all of the activities that are grouped together, what it looks like, what are the units and measures and quantities. I can review the export to look for anything that may be flagged. I can do a final budget review. And when this comes up, I can look down at this total budget number, 3.134, and I could even verify that that matches my final summary, 3.134. And once that's complete, we're really done at this point. We can go to our export to accounting, choose a location to save the file to. There you go. If I were just to save it to my desktop. And then I can just export. It's going to export that data. Spectrum is complete. Not real on this call, but we do have the option to export for POs, and all of these exports are very customizable. So if you have unique situations, you want to pull fields that you're not seeing there, but you know are available through the import to Spectrum, you can reach out to HCSS support, or you can reach out to individuals like myself, and we can help you customize that export to meet your individual requirements. No problem. The other thing that we wanted to just kind of touch on is, so how do we handle change orders, and what's kind of the best practice? So the typical way I see most change orders happening within heavy bid system, and really is kind of the most proven, really a proven good way to do it, is that once an estimate is conformed, we don't ever really want to change that again. We like to keep our original estimate intact. But if it does change, we want to reuse a lot of the same information, right, that is housed within this estimate. Maybe there's going to be a change to certain activities. We want to be able to copy, reuse, and apply those for future change orders. In addition to that, we also have on our summary, we've also preset markups and other standard indirects or spread overrides or different things. So as we want to do change orders, we want to apply some of those same rules to future opportunities on the project. So I would normally, at this point, I would go File, and I would go New, and I would copy this current estimate, right? And I would make a new version of this estimate. And I might call this my change master for my sample project. And I'll finish that. And it's going to take all of the information I have on this estimate. It's going to copy this estimate over. And I do have one that I've kind of already been playing around with. So I'm going to switch over to that change master estimate. And on this one here, you can see as soon as I copied it, I went into my bid items, and I actually said I made them all non-additive, right? And so for those of you familiar with heavy bid, what we're really saying here is that we're kind of ignoring it, we're hiding it, so that the information's there, but it has no impact on our overall totals or calculations as we move further downstream within heavy bid. So as I look at my list of bid items and activities, I can see here that it all has a circle with a line through it. That means it's non-additive. And as I scroll down, what I've done is I've said, okay, I have a new one, and I start all my change orders on this project with a bid item code of 888. And this is my first change order, and there's 2 bid items to this change order for CO1. So I added them, and they are the only items that are a direct add. So that's a D instead of an N. I came over here to my estimate tree view. We can see those items. And I've gone through and I've coded them. I used the same alt code field, and I said, well, I don't want these to be separate. I'm going to roll these 2 activities up under this bid item, and I'm going to roll these 2 activities up under this bid item. So I made sure they had the same code. And now when I go to my summary, I see all the same settings I had for my original estimate. I now see the total price is summarized. And when I go to my pricing page, I can price out And I only see the 2 items that are related to change order 1. Now, one of the other great things about doing it this way is that if I have another change order that comes up a little bit later in the project, I can make these non-add, and I can add additional change orders, and I can keep adding to this estimate over and over and over again, keep increasing and building this estimate. And then all of my change orders are in one single file for the original project. So from here, when I go to my exchange, heavy job and accounting, and I go to assign my cost codes, you'll see again, it's only the 4 because everything else is non-additive. I just need to assign the phase. I'll apply options here. And I can see that the phases that I predefined are there. They're going to go into as my change order item. And I go through the same process. Now, I'm not extracting any resources. They aren't in here, so there's no revenue phase or assigned here. Can add-ons, bonds, other costs. Again, if there's no value, even if I have this here, it's just going to come up as 0. I assign my revenue codes. And I can move down through the same process. I can review what's coming. I can check for any flags, and I could do my final budget review. And I can move down to my export to accounting. Takes a moment to find it there. And I can export my change order. So that's kind of, I know that's pretty high level and pretty quick, but the trick, the things to remember is that the conforming process is really about codes. That's what it comes down to, is deciding what are the codes that we're going to track, making sure that they're going to match our standards for our company within, and what level do we want to really track things in the field and in accounting. And so we can kind of use these tools, those code books and or some of the other fields within heavy bid, to really optimize those opportunities, create efficiencies, and make it so that the conforming process is very fast, simple, and probably the most important thing is that it's standardized. And that really creates for a lot of good analytics and reviewing data and finding information and ensuring that we're operating at what we expected to do. Mike, that's my mouthful. I think I'll hand the torch over to you.
All right, thanks, buddy. I'll show my screen here. Can you all see my mouse moving around on the Spectrum desktop app?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Josh. Yeah, the knowledge and the expertise and the value of those tips and tricks, I'm hoping folks find that really useful. I'm sure they will. So in this scenario, then we've got the original job file, and then we've got a change file. And I don't know about you all, but we have so many clients where the first change order occurred before the job started. So I'm not sure which comes first here, the chicken or egg. But what we're going to do is create the job and bring in that original information and then bring in the change. So here in Spectrum, I'll hit jobs over on my shortcuts, short of going to maintenance jobs. And then I'll click on new because we're going to create a new job. All right. Now, in this case, I'm going to manually put in a job code. I tend to put in the date 21/04/01, April the 1st. And we're going to call this HCSS heavy bid project. And I'll put in the cost center. And I'll go ahead and edit key personnel, and I'll show you why I did that in just a moment. And on the PM, PIE, MPM, and we can hit list and find it there, of course. Tips and tricks, if you stay on the keyboard, I hit F3 here. It's just so much faster the more we can stay on the keyboard. F3 is save. I'll hit enter and I'll go to the customer. If I remember right, ANS A-N-A-D-A-R, do I have that right? Yeah, otherwise I could have hit list. You can, but you don't have to put in the original contract. We're gonna bring this file in so quickly, I'm not worried about that. And I will make it a unit-based contract. All right, this is a unit-priced contract. All right, so we've set up our job. I'll hit F3 to exit that screen to save and close. And then we come to the property screens that we've come to know and love, and I'm going to import here. So I'll click on import. And at the top of the screen then, I'll click on import. And in this case, burn into memory, we're bringing in the base contract, all right? I'll go ahead and leave all the pre-fills and hit continue. I'll choose the file, and I'm defaulting to the last folder I was in last time I did this, and I'm bringing in this file that Josh generated, okay? The original job cost file. I'll hit open, and then I'll hit upload. Tip and trick, if you find this screen processing and it's taking too long, go back to that main properties and save. We've got two records fighting for attention there. You can see when I did that, it completed successfully. All right, we come then to a preview of what was brought in on that import file. So Josh showed us how to navigate through heavy bid and export that file. He then saved it, and I've imported it to this job. And the first screen that we come to is the list of phases. And my eyes tend to go to the upper right and validate that total, 3.134. And I'm feeling pretty good at this point. The total dollars agree. One thing to mention, this is a fully editable screen. I can make new rows, I can edit existing, and I can delete. All right. All right, the other key component here are our billing items. So I'll click on billing detail there. I'll hit enter one time, and boom, our schedule of values is in here. Some folks call them billing items. I mean, how cool is this? This is where there's a major impact for your company. We've just brought in the budget. We brought in the billing items. Notice also that the billing items are broken out into groups with the billing item itself under the group, and I'll expand on that in just a little bit. My eyes come up here to the total. I'm feeling good about 3.5. I trace that back to the HCSS software. So I'm ready to update now. To do that, I'll click back on Job Setup, and I'll click on Update. Verifying it's the base contract, I'll hit OK, accept the pre-fills, and hit Continue. All right, let's look at the damage we've done. I'm going to close out. I'm going to go all the way back to the dashboard. All right, on my jobs, because I made me a contact on that job, the job is showing up on the My Jobs list. I don't have to go do a menu dance to find this job. It's on the My Jobs list. So I simply click on it then to come to the job analysis. This is the first place I go after importing. Yes, the revised contract is right, 3.544. We've got gross profit of 400 and change with that margin. Well, the gross profit to be technically right. And then our estimate total is 3.134. If you want to dig a little deeper on the phases side, I'm going to hit cost and hours. And my default view on this inquiry is summarizing by phase, and it's showing me an estimate of cost and hours with job to date cost and hours. Of course, there are many columns I can add here. This just keeps me honest with myself on the original budget if I want to look down the phases and make sure I'm feeling good about it. Additionally, then, if I pop back over to that job analysis, and I did that through the info bar, I can now go to the contract with my customer. And under properties on that contract on the info bar, I can hit schedule of values. And here's the schedule of values that Josh sent over. So the estimating side has created this project. They have exported it, sent it to the finance side to import, and we've got our schedule of values and our phases in the system just that quickly. quickly as we've been doing this webinar. Something that is near and dear to a lot of our clients in the underground or the or similar industries. If I go to financials and I look at my billing items, I'm going to get a little more real estate here. Hit those three buttons. I can see a listing of my billing items, and I see on the billing items what my contract is for in terms of quantities and dollars. So I now have a breakout on billing items of what I'm going to bill. And if I look over to the right, then I look at my cost projection in terms of quantities and revenue, quantities and cost. Here he is, projected cost. And I can see line item by line item if I plan on making money or losing money. All right, and we knew that when we were in HCSS products and heavy bid. What's really valuable about this screen is as the project rolls forward and I'm incurring cost on all of the phases that relate to these billing items, I can then look and say, well, what have I billed on those billing item / phases compared to what the cost is? Am I positive or negative? And you can keep track very easily that you're billing enough on these individual billing items that are linked to phases. Very, very popular, this screen. I don't know how you get that information now, but it's that easy once you brought it in from heavy bid. Okay, then the other transaction that happened was the change, right? Josh has sent me a change file. So to initiate that, I'll go back to properties and I'm gonna import again. I'm gonna import the change. And so this time, instead of the base contract, I'm gonna say I'm bringing in a change request. And now the system's saying, well, which one? I'll hit the pull down. Now in this case, I've not previously recorded the change. So I'll click on new. And I come to the quick add change field and I'll hit enter for the first one. And I'm just gonna make this up. I'll say extend length of north wall. Okay, that's our change. And the status is P pending. I'm feeling good about that. So I'm gonna save him and exit that screen and go back then to the change import, asking me which change. I can either hit go and pull it off the list, but I saw it was 1001 and I'll grab him. Now, just like we did on the original estimate, I'm going to click on import here. It's the change request. I'll click on continue. I'm going to choose the file that Josh has previously sent to me. Here's that change order. And I'll upload. So we've created the change and we've uploaded what heavy bid provided to us. And what that was the estimate in terms of the phase breakdown. Very similar, the same thing actually as the original. And I've got my total of 60 and change here. And then I've also got billing items and I can see those with the total of 79. So it's the same process. I hit job setup and I hit update. I'm going to update that change request. And I hit continue here. All right, I'll check out of that screen. Let's see where we're at now. I'll refresh this job analysis that we're on, and I can see under contract control, I've got an original contract of 3.5, and here's my proposed change of 79 that we just brought in. All right. Now, just to take this to the next step, what a lot of folks will do to process this is they'll look at the log. I hit that hyperlink, and now I'm looking this quickly at my change log. And if we get an approval to proceed on this, I can highlight that change and I can click on this revised status. Just do it that quickly. All right, and I'll hit approved here. Client has said proceed with the work. What date did they do that? Did they give us the approval? I hit continue and I will save and close. I'll check out of this screen. I can also hit F3 to get out of there. Now here's the beauty of it. If I go back, I'm gonna go back to job analysis, I can see now here under contract control that my potential changes, my opportunities now have moved up to approved. All right, I think of that as risk. Do we have an executed change? Not yet, but we are approved and we're proceeding on the work. What's the value of that to your company? We've also ratcheted up our revised contract. We see we started at 3.5, we've got the change, now it's at 3.6. And if you choose to, this is an option in settings, our budget automatically changed as well. Budget as well as projection. All right, we're going fast. We'll make this video available to everyone. I'm going to pop back over to our PowerPoint. Keeps us on track. Josh, thank you. I know you're a busy guy. If anyone needs to contact Josh, his email josh.h@jhssolutions.com, number 803-606-4314. He's a great consultant. We just love to partner with Josh on Spectrum/heavy job or HCSS implementations. Barclay, with that, I'm going to hand back off to you here.
Okay. And just wanted to say thank you everyone for being here. I'm Barclay, the Director of Client Care. If there are any additional topics that you'd like to see, we'd love to hear from you. And you can also keep up to date on our current events, as well as find additional resources on our social media pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Contact us anytime at clientcare@onpoint-software.com. And have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.